Thank you so much for everyone who's joining in. I'm Fasim Mehta. I'm the program manager at Team Up, and I'm joined here with my co-host today, Madiha.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Madiha Hamid here. Thank you for the opportunity by Team Up to इस panel को moderate करने के लिए. We have a very exciting conversation जो होगी हमारे panelists के साथ. Today's theme is how to launch and relaunch your career. And ये especially for the class of 2020, this is a very a moment which needs to be which the class of 2020 really needs a lot of guidance in terms of how they're going to maneuver their careers, and this is one of the things that we're going to talk about. And because of COVID हमारे पास बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग भी हैं who have to rethink about their career choices. तो उसके around भी हम discussion करेंगे. We have an amazing panel today. I would love to hear sabke input, including Fasi yours, because you have a wonderful experience over the past. We will just kick off the webinar today by starting with the introductions.
जी, thank you, Madiha. Topic जैसे सबने सुना कि बड़ा अच्छा टॉपिक है, how to launch and relaunch your career. मज़े की बात है कि अगर इसमें कोई एक किताब लिखी जाती तो सब लोग कर लेते, कोई एक रेसिपी होती तो कर लेते, लेकिन ऐसा है नहीं. इसकी कोई एक ट्रिक नहीं है, कोई एक हैक नहीं है. हर एक का बहुत डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस है, बहुत डिफरेंट तजुर्बा है और बहुत सारे मिक्सेस हैं. सो आज इस पैनल से मुझे बड़ी उम्मीद है कि काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग हमें टिप्स भी मिलेंगी उनके एक्सपीरियंस के बिना पे, और जो यंगस्टर्स इस वक्त प्लान करते हैं किस एज में करते हैं, क्या करना है, कैसे बहुत सारे धक्के खाने ज़रूरी हैं या नहीं हैं, और मेंटरिंग का क्या रोल है, उसके बारे में भी बात करेंगे. और टीम अप का जो करियर लॉन्च पैड प्रोग्राम है उसके बारे में भी हम थोड़ा सा जिक्र करेंगे कि वो क्या है और कैसे हम इस गैप को ब्रिज करने में आप सबके साथ मिलकर इसमें कोई काम कर सकते हैं. हमारे पास जो पैनलिस्ट हैं उसमें इस वक्त मोनिस रहमान ने भी हमें ज्वाइन करना था, वो शॉर्टली ज्वाइन कर लेंगे, लेकिन मैं इंट्रोडक्शन कराता चलता हूँ. इस वक्त हमारे साथ पैनल में फातिमा है. फातिमा, शुक्रिया. फातिमा जो है जी इस वक्त करेंटली हेड कर रही हैं कि ट्रैक को पाकिस्तान में, जो कि बहुत अमेजिंग स्टार्टअप है, फाउंडेड बाय पाकिस्तानी, को-फाउंडेड बाय पाकिस्तानी बेस्ड इन यूएस. इट्स अ यूनिकॉर्न और जनरल मैनेजर हैं पाकिस्तान में, लेकिन इससे पहले इन्होंने करीम को भी पाकिस्तान में लॉन्च किया, करीम को भी पूरा सेटअप किया, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग भी इन्होंने करके देखा. फिर इन्होंने काफ़ी सारे माशाल्लाह अच्छे सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस जो है वो किए हैं. MIT से इनकी तालीम है, इन्होंने शी इज़ अ स्लोन फेलो. सो आई गेस जो लोग हमें ऑडियंस में ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं और जो क्वेश्चंस हैं मल्टीनेशनल्स के हवाले से या इंटरनेशनल स्टडीज़ और करियर्स के हवाले से, वो भी मेरे ख्याल में काफ़ी अच्छे सब लोग आज जवाब दे सकते हैं उसके बारे में. इसके अलावा काफ़ी जो उन्होंने काम किया एज मेंबर करीम, इन्होंने काफ़ी मार्केट्स में उसको लॉन्च किया, मिडल ईस्ट में भी, नॉर्थ अफ्रीका में भी, पाकिस्तान के अलावा टर्की में भी. And so welcome, Fatma.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Then we have from the education industry, we have Walid Mushtaq, who is the CEO RIS Roots International School, which is a prestigious and one of the best ranked institutes in Pakistan. He has received multiple RCCI Excellence Awards. He's termed as CEO of the Year in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So we will be talking to Walid about different challenges that students that he interacts with face when they're graduating out of school and when they're in their initial years. Thank you, Walid, for joining us today. And on the panel, we also have Shaban, but he has over 23 years of experience in the HR sector. He has a cross exposure industry on different, implementing different HR practices. And these days, he's the director of HR administration at Coca-Cola, Pakistan. Shaban, thank you for joining us. And we would love to know more about your journey of transforming the HR organizations, and also how the people that you work with and how you have helped them in this area. So, should we start, Fasi?
Please do.
जी, so the first question मेरा जो आप सब panelists से आज है, it's about taking you all back to your graduation year, and let's talk about the fears, the challenges when you were graduating, and other than that, also when you were picking up your first job, what were some of the considerations that you had in mind? What were the mistakes that you did? Now that you look back all these years, what were some of the mistakes that you did? What were some of the challenges that you faced? That would be extremely insightful for everyone. So I'll start off with Fatima. If you can share something from your early years of your amazing career now.
That's a really hard question, but I have a bunch of failures that I can discuss. But I think when I graduated from University of Pittsburgh. I'd gotten a master's. I was always very curious. So my undergrad, I had 2 masters and a minor. My master's, I had 2 majors and a minor, which meant that I wanted to study absolutely everything because I felt really blessed to have the opportunity to go to study in the States. But somewhere along the line, I heard that finance was a very lucrative career, and a lot of women did not get into finance, and that it was a boys' club. And I was always kind of like this, I think I was born feminist, or I was born one girl in like all these cousins, and I don't know, something along the way just made me feel like I can do it. So I chose finance without really being interested in it, without even knowing what finance was all about. And I just picked up finance, and it took me 9 months after I graduated to actually get this job. I tried in the States where I was. I didn't get the H-1B, so I came to Dubai where my parents were, and Dubai was booming. And still, for somebody to get a job in Dubai, you had to have all sorts of connections. We didn't. I tried really hard, so in the end, I picked up an internship. I interned for 6 months. They said intern for 3 more months. So I had to intern for 9 months for them to actually take me seriously. And I worked there for 3 years till about the financial crisis hit. It came much later in Dubai than the rest of the world, and I was jobless, and it took me another 9 months to figure out where I was going to go. So yeah, I think one of the biggest things, and I know we'll continue on our journey. So your question was just the start. So I think one mistake I made was, without even figuring out what anything meant, I wanted a career in that. It seemed respectable for my parents. It seemed respectable for somebody who had gotten educated somewhere, that finance, because I hadn't done engineering or other stuff. I just done a master's in finance. So yeah, I just looked at what the world was saying and what was cool, and I just decided to go for it. I've been working for about 11, 12 years now, and my first 3 years of working were finance. After that, I've never looked at finance. As we go on, I'll let everyone else answer, and as we go on, I'll tell you my journey. But the first thing I want to say to everyone who's listening, I think somebody said if we can talk in Urdu as well. Let me attempt talking in Urdu. So जो पहला बात मैं कहना चाहती हूँ वो ये है कि आप इतना फिक्सेट ना होएं कि आपने किस इंडस्ट्री में जाना है. आप इतने यंग हैं, आपके 20s should be there to experiment. And as I answer the questions, I'll let you know. या किस कंपनी के ऊपर जाना है. कुछ लोग फिक्सेट हो जाते हैं कंपनी के ऊपर जाना है. आपको खुद अपने आप को जानना है कि आपका पैशन क्या है, या what are you good at, या what do you like doing. And that's where you should go, and you should keep trying a couple of different jobs before you find out what you're really, one, passionate about and one good at. And those could be 2 very different things. But I'll let the other panelists answer, and we can come back to how the journey.
Thank you, Fatma. Building on to what you just said, Walid, I'm sure aap jo hain, you meet a lot of passionate students who are, I mean, if I look at myself when I was graduating, I was like a headless chicken, like didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go, but whatever came my way. So do you want to share your journey when you graduated, and share with us what were your challenges and mistakes?
Sure, absolutely. Pretty much similar, G. If you look back, I think first of all, thank you. I think Team Up and NIC is doing some great work, and I think it correlates the impact of this engagement and this subject discussion. I think it carves out a meaningful progression and an attainment pattern for the youth of our country and potential entrepreneurs, potential skill seekers, or potential skill builders. I mean, so I think the impact of this is absolutely recognizable. Ji, bilkul journey, as Fatma earlier mentioned, that back about 25, 30 years ago, aapko to pata hai ki hamare paas we were not the, perhaps we're still in the 21st century, but I mean, we did not leverage and benefit from the availability of, counseling, mentorship, which is of the level and the scale which we are having right now. I mean, back in the day, 25, 30 years ago, wo cheezein to thi nahi. I mean, I actually was accepted into different colleges and universities in the US. And then I went, a couple of them were offers from UK, ended up studying, wanted to do a degree in law, ended up doing a degree in international business and business management from University of Richmond. Clearly, of course, my first experience after graduation was also, I mean, first part is of course international exposure. I think a message for everybody and potential aspirants for future. Okay, internationalization बहुत important है. देखिए, I mean, you're sitting in Pakistan and you whichever part of the world you are in, but I mean, that concept was really give me a boost. I remember one of my closest friends, turned out to be Arabs, and his actually father and uncles used to come down to London, and they used to take us to attend those big trading exhibitions. Out of them were educational exhibitions, were big business delegations and exhibitions, and we got at that point of time from a student. So that notion came around, to wear a suit and a tie and to attend those exhibitions and business meetings, to tag along. So I think that it in itself creates the ability for you to strive and to learn and know better. So I mean, adaptability बहुत important है. उस time adaptability के जो tools थे, शायद वो इतने digitally accessed और leveraged नहीं थे. Particularly in Pakistan, आपको पता है कि career counseling, mentorship sessions in universities and institutions have become, at least in the institution which I run, clearly we've made it mandatory. तो ये सारे पहलुओं के बाद, of course, then my first experiential experience was also part-time work, part-time jobs. It happened to be with a publishing company, with an educational management consultancy company, with a business consultancy company. I happened to work with British Aerospace Systems. British Aerospace at that point of time was one of the few Pakistanis who got in. Then Hutchison Telecom was also my apprenticeship. So started working, and then, of course, then how Pakistani are. कहते हैं हमारी पाकिस्तानी की जुगाड़ी mentality होती है, जुगाड़ी. So we like to disrupt. So आप देख लें पूरे मिडिल ईस्ट में, आप देख लें कि आपको हर सेकंड थर्ड टैक्सी ड्राइवर जो पाकिस्तानी नजर आएगा, उससे पूछेंगे आप जाएंगे, वो कहता है अपना पठान पश्तो में बात करेगा, बोलेगा भाई साहब मैं खुश हूँ, अल्लाह का शुक्र है, किसी के लिए काम नहीं करना पड़ता, किसी के लिए नहीं. And again, an ideal testimony of that disruption, जो आज से 10, 20 साल, 30 साल पहले पाकिस्तानी गया था मिडिल ईस्ट, बार्सिलोना उठा लें, पोर्चुगल उठा लें, लिस्बन उठा लें, दुबई ले लें, सऊदीया ले लें, जद्दा, मक्का ले लें, उसी को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज कर दिया आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी ने. उबर, करीम वो मॉडल लेके आ गए. वही एंटरप्रेन्योर्स. अब क्या होता है, आप लंदन जाओ, एजुकेटेड बैरिस्टर्स, ह्यूस्टन जाओ, न्यूयॉर्क जाओ. अभी लास्ट ईयर मैं लंदन जब गया, अब तो पैंडेमिक हो गई, लंदन तो दूर की बात, तो लास्ट ईयर की बात है. मोस्ट एजुकेटेड people and personnel who are maybe earning over 40, 50, 60,000 pounds per annum, वो भी उबर करीम चलाते हैं. तो मतलब उसने वो disruption कर दी. So anyways, the point which I was trying to make was accessibility, openness, and then by building on those work experiences, and then came to Pakistan, of course, then something, education was something which grew the passion for, and then of course dealing with students and doing mentorship sessions and seeing how their naive ambitions and their sort of naive dreams, how they translate into reality, and that's a feeling of attainment And when one of our students and one of a Pakistani student, he tops, the ranking and placements in the leading universities of the world. So then I think definitely that is a case for success, not only for the family members, but individual, the countryman, and the sentiments are amazing. Abhi ab Malala Yousafzai ki khabar aa rahi thi abhi, Oxford ki graduate, you see her pictures. The other day I was giving an online session to my students. कि भाई क्या किस्मत, मैंने सोचा था कभी कि कि चलो वो
लेकिन
तो
ये बात भी आपकी
पाकिस्तान
बड़ी
में
अच्छी है वलीद के किस्मत की आपने एक बात की। कुछ लोगों का मानना यह है कि किस्मत इंसान खुद लिखता है, कुछ लोगों का मानना यह है कि किस्मत जी ना हो तो आप जितनी मर्जी मेहनत करें कुछ नहीं होता। शबान साहब माशाल्लाह आपने भी काफी एक्सपीरियंस है, काफी अरसे से आप इस फील्ड में हैं, आप इस बात से कितना एग्री करते हैं? और ऑफ कोर्स जिस पे वलीद ने बड़े अच्छे पॉइंट्स अभी दिए और फातिमा ने, उस हवाले से भी थोड़ा प्लीज जरा बताइएगा, फ्रॉम द अर्ली करियर स्टेज।
Thank you, Fasi. Thank you, Madhya. And just to build on the same blocks where Walid and Fatima have built upon, I would just add on to a couple of points. एक तो ये कि starting of career and then finding the way through and reaching up to the ladder. In those days, as Walid was rightly saying, कि career counseling and guidance तो कुछ होती नहीं थी. You have to craft your own future, your way forward, and you need to think what you need to do. So when I remember very categorically, when I was doing my graduation, doctors and MBAs and engineers, the market was flooded, You just didn't know what to do. So at that point in time, human resource was one subject which was evolving in Pakistan and during those days. And that's what I thought through, that what I want to do with my career. And I was lucky enough to get my way through. Naya subject shuru hua tha, Masters of Public Administration by Karachi University. So I happened to be the batch of 90s or second batch tha, I remember hamara. And the field was still young. Nobody knew what the future was going to hold, but I took the risk. मैंने कहा यार बजाय इसके कि MBA करके और दोबारा कैशियर बनने से तो बेहतर है कि let's try a new field and see what you want to do, because if that's what my passion. And God has been very kind after going through that. It's been on and on. And today here I am. Just a little correction for Madhya. I am heading HR and administration for Coca-Cola, but for UAE and Oman, not Pakistan. So I've been to different parts of the world while working for corporates with different entities, MNCs. And after spending 23 plus years, here I am today. And very thankful for all of you to invite me and share my views and my experiences. Open to everybody for questions.
Shaban, just building on to what you've said. There's a lot of emphasis, like class of 2022 is graduating right now. Education part is done, right? So they had their degrees now. Over your, past experience that you've had, what as an HR, of course, with the HR background, I wanted to ask you, when you are looking at people joining in, when you go through their CVs, how much value is education versus the skill set? Now we are in 2020 where where education and degrees, yes, do matter, but as a professional, how do you rate it? And then I'll take notes from everyone, Fatma and Walid as well, of what has played a major role, whether was it education, the degree that you had, or the skill set that you acquired over the years that has helped you reach where you are at this point?
Madhya, there are two questions in your statement, one for the class of 22 and my personal experience. Now, when it comes to the class of 2020, now, see, one needs to understand that having a degree is your passport to getting into a corporate world or a career. Now, surviving and sailing through and being a successful professional, what it takes is your passion, your hunger to learn, and your clear-cut focus on growing yourself. And that can only happen when you start loving what you're doing. And now coming towards the second portion of your question, whereby you say that under the circumstances, see, business as usual is history. COVID ने इस वक्त history जो है उसको totally abolish कर दिया है, and we are in the middle of writing history for the times to come, for our children to witness something which has been unprecedented. So we all are going through a changing phase. To my mind, as an HR professional, I think this is the time to bring about a meaningful change in people and for the organizations. Both ways we have to see. Agar aap dekhein, we have always been struggling, and especially in Pakistan, there has always been a gap. Employers are saying that we don't find good talent. Gold medalists, degree holders, position rankers are complaining that they don't find jobs. My question is that where is the gap? The gap is that our academics are still not matured enough. We are still passing through children to go and get the degrees. Pass ho jao, bas kafi hai, degree honi chahiye.
Absolutely.
Where is the knowledge?
200% agreed.
Where is the knowledge? You need to understand, and I tell you, I mean, it's a personal, very personal experience, but I would like to share for people to understand, for these kids to understand where we are going wrong. Last 3 months, we are operating from home. And it was the first time in my life, and I thank God for that, that I spent my last 3 months with my son, making sure that he gets up in the morning, goes into the class. And the worst of my surprises, he goes to a very good school. God has been very kind, alhamdulillah. Shoifat is one of the renowned schools, and it's known for the education system. But the boy had no clear concepts. And you will be shocked that in all his grades, he's been passing through 90 plus. When I went into the depth of it, I learned that they are teaching him how to pass the exam, not to acquire knowledge. His concepts, his bases were so weak. So this is where the gap is. This is where what we need to inculcate in our today's students to acquire knowledge, to understand what you are reading, what is being taught. That is something which is going to be beneficial for them in the practical life. And this is what's going to be the point which will be the differentiating factor amongst a regular student and a talented kid, apart from other things which are of course necessary.
I really like this. Thank you. So far, all of you have talked so many interesting things, and there's a ton of issues or areas to look into. Digital access, money as a factor, a key factor to choose which kind of a career path you want. Sometimes when this career planning is happening, regardless of at a very early age, when we are kids and children decide, I want to be a pilot, I want to be in armed forces, I want to, rarely you will see someone very young and talk that I want to be an investment banker. So these desires to have an ideal career change over time, probably money factor, whatever. But interesting that you talked about the concepts, knowledge, hunger, passion, and mentorship. My question is, what is that age where this planning needs to start? For many, the parents do this, right? They come in and they say, "Ke beta doctor banna hai, engineer banna hai, फौज में जाना है," और बच्चा फिर उसी माइंड से ग्रूम होता है कि मैंने ये करना है. And later on, they realize after going into that, many people did I have many friends actually who did their MBBS, and then they went into a different career. Some became a singer, one even became an investment banker later. So what is that right age? So ये सवाल मैं पहले आपसे करूँगा, Shaban sir, and then I'll move to others.
देखिए, to my mind, हम भी इस दौर से गुजरे हैं कि my passion was to become a GD pilot. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. But I ended up doing, if you look from the perspective of my dad, I'm a big failure in life because that's what he wanted also. But if you look today as an individual professional, God has been kind. I feel that I've done fairly okay for myself. It's not been so bad. Moved around.
We'll say you've done very well. Shaban sir will say you've done very well.
Thank you, Walid. So the point is कि हमें बहुत ज़रूरी है अपने बच्चों को ये power देनी. They must be able to decide. Every time I used to go to my dad and say, अच्छा अब मैंने क्या करूं, मैं क्या करूं? He would say, जो दिल करता कर लो. And you know, I would get so disturbed कि यार मेरा बाप, what kind of a dad I have? I mean, he doesn't even tell me what to do. What do I do? I used to complain to my mom. And honestly, I'm telling you, I used to complain to my mom that ये क्या हो रहा है? And she would say that you will understand. वो जैसे कह रहे हैं वैसे करो. But I never knew, I mean, what he was preparing me for. He would make me choose anything and everything. School से college, कौन से college जाना है? He would not say. College से university, degree कौन सी करनी है? He would not say. I had to choose anything and everything on my own. तो ये स्टेज है जहाँ पे हमें अपने बच्चों को फ्यूचर के लिए तैयार करना है, and we need to give them confidence that how they should mature going through and getting through the ages of different stages of life, और वहाँ पे हर मोड़ पे उनको कैसे confidence build करना है, so that once they are out there ready as a crop for their professional time, they would know what to do.
Okay. I ask the same question to you now, Walid. You deal with children at a very young age and also when they are entering the job market as well through your universities and colleges. So what do you think is the right time when such thoughts need to be processed? Or एक interesting angle जो Shaban साहब ने इसमें like the role of parents. So what in your experience आप कैसे parents के साथ इस conversation को लेके चलते हैं in terms of the career planning for children?
Right. Interesting discussion जी. Couple of factors. एक तो शबान साहब ने जिस तरह बताया कि the day and age as we speak right now, I mean the current day and age, I mean practically I think all means of planning and attainment in what they were back about 2 decades ago and what they are right now, I mean the whole ecosystem is disrupted. So and today in fact I was reading an article, it says about a black swan. There was an author, in fact there's a philosopher who classifies, I mean on a hindsight, everybody precludes के swan जो of course it will be a white swan, right? तो ये जो moment है pandemic का पिछले 3 महीने से और अगले 3 महीने की भी जो पूरी दुनिया भर में uncertainty, this is उसने classify कि ये black swan moment है, black swan. इस 21वीं सदी में इस disruptive ecosystem के अंदर where technology was taking over, was disrupting conventional businesses, where agencies and engagements and enterprise engagement has pretty much been disrupted by virtue of technology. And I think adversity brings opportunity also. So for example, you look at how, I mean, education globally right now in this pandemic has been the biggest user of technology. आपको पता है कि अमेरिका में तो पूरी fall session के लिए schools have been shut down. मतलब partially उनका जो है वो state by state decision करते जा रहे हैं कि क्या करना है हमने, क्या नहीं करना. States independent हैं decisions करने के लिए. इसी लिहाज से बाकी जगह में भी, पाकिस्तान में भी, बहुत से मुल्कों के अंदर. लेकिन आपको जान के ये भी गमी खुशी का एहसास होगा कि जो हमारे यहाँ हायर एजुकेशन सेगमेंट है, 200 से ज़ायद यूनिवर्सिटीज़ बनती हैं, उसके अंदर ही बहुत सेवियर चैलेंजेस रहे हैं अपने आप को अडेप्ट करने के लिए इस टेक्नोलॉजिकल आउटरीच को. तो एक तो जो शबान से बात की, यस, कि जो हमारे पहले वक्तों में जो हमारी प्लानिंग होती थी और जब हमें बिल्कुल फ्लूइड छोड़ दिया जाता था, अब हैंड होल्डिंग का ज़माना आ चुका है. लेकिन हैंड होल्डिंग भी जब तालीमी इदारों के थ्रू देखें, मैं खुद एक मुल्क का तीसरा बड़ा तालीमी इदारा चला रहा हूँ और सबसे बड़ा अलमिया यही है, द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज व्हिच वी फेस इज कि हाउ डू वी एड्रेस द ब्रेक डाउन द स्टेटस को, द कन्वेंशनल अप्रोच, rudimentary approach, regimented approach of producing top achievers, top distinction holders, position holders, and that it's a state of mind. It's a societal problem in our country that parents, teachers, institutions, they would work together. I want position. I want the ultimate degree. I mean, you would have a class A degree. I've had students who have been to the Ivy Leagues in US, who are graduates out of the Russell Group universities in England, and coming back, and you can't even imagine that their confusion for their progression in life would be absolutely dismayed, as opposed to a graduate who's been to a Pakistani university, who may have been an average student, who may not be a topper, but who's been always a disruptor from the classroom while teacher was going on, from his career ambitions. तो अब ये तो आपको पता है बर्तानिया के अंदर तो एक रिसर्च भी हो चुकी हुई है कि जो एवरेज स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनकी अटेनमेंट ओवर अ 10 year and a 20 year पीरियड उनकी अटेनमेंट जो है वो ज्यादा रही है एज अपोज टू द टॉपर्स, द टॉप ग्रेजुएट्स आउट ऑफ देयर टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज. तो हमें भी इस अलमिया को अडॉप्ट करना पड़ेगा. ये चैलेंजेस हैं जिसमें सोसाइटी नीड्स टू कम टुगेदर, इंस्टीट्यूशंस, टीचर्स, सबसे साथी हमारे बच्चों को क्लासेस में रेक्टिफिकेशन के ऊपर डिग्री फोकस हमारा कल्चर ना रहे. एक जमाने पहले कल्चर था डॉक्टर इंजीनियर, अब आगे जी सोशल साइंसेस का अगर करियर आ गया, वकालत का करियर आ गया है, अब अगर टेक्नोलॉजी का आ गया है, तो सारे के सारे आपको पता है जो हमारी मेन स्ट्रीम यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं उनके अंदर भी जितना फोकस है कन्वेंशनल इंजीनियरिंग से जो स्टूडेंट की रिक्रूटमेंट है वो डिक्लाइन पे है नंबर. अभी सब टेक्नोलॉजी आईटी की तरफ, डिग्रियों की तरफ हमारे तुलबा जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं पोटेंशियली दे आर ऑप्टिंग टुवर्ड्स दैट. जो आपकी मैकेनिकल, इलेक्ट्रिकल, इंजीनियरिंग की जो इंटेक्स थी वो अब डिक्लाइनिंग ट्रेंड के ऊपर है. मेन स्ट्रीम में टॉप 4 टॉप इंजीनियरिंग यूनिवर्सिटीज की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो ये भी अलमिया है इसको. नाउ टू पुट इट इनटू कॉन्टेक्स्ट, यस आई थिंक स्किल्स ड्रिवन एजुकेशन, जैसा शबान साहब ने बताया कि स्किल्स, एडेप्टेबिलिटी, एक्सपोजर, सॉफ्ट स्किल्स, you know, conversationalists, the leadership skills, intuitive ability, critical thinking. देखिए आपने ये सारी चीजें मुतारिफ करानी है. घरों में भी माँ बाप ने भी ये कल्चर देना है. देखिए मैंने ये भी देखा बच्चे अपने घर में भी, जिस तरह उन्होंने मिसाल दी, मैंने भी 3 महीने जब तालीमी इदारे बंद हुए, मैं कहता हूँ कि एक लिहाज से अल्लाह ताला का ये भी एक इंट्रोस्पेक्शन थी सबके लिए. यू फाइंड आउट, आपको ये भी पता चलता है कि आपके घर में इकोसिस्टम क्या चल रहा है, हु आर द लाइक्स एंड you know haves and have nots. तो I mean उस लिहाज से when you look at things critically and introspect, you find out कि absolutely there are a lot of areas which we need to work together.
I agree. This has been a wake-up call by nature, by God for us. Fatma, आप बताइए, so in your opinion, what would be that right age? Mostly what we've seen is in our families, in this part of the subcontinent particularly, that the inspiration is drawn very immediate from the family members who have an influence, whether it is the father, it is an elder brother, it is a cousin who is very successful. And success is defined by many factors. People who have gained a lot of power, name, fame, money, and they say this is a great career. And then they will try that, many follow that career path. It could be civil services for one, and the entire family you will see would like to opt. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. Everyone has different choices. So what is that career planning that should be done? What is the tool that these guys should have? There's lots of questions pouring in, which I would request the judges, if you want to answer, you can go to the Q&A and you can type the answers as well. But most of them are relevant to this fact that it's a very generic degree and then about to graduate, and then what's next?
Yeah. So I'll just answer in a very short way that you have to make the decision during high school. Unfortunately, this is the way the education system is. Because look, you have to take certain courses to be able to get in the university, whether it's an engineering university, whether it's choosing business administration, whether it's choosing social sciences. And that kind of, historically, that kind of defined what kind of job you were going to look for. But I think the good thing now is, regardless of whatever degree that you have, you can go into any career that you want. My brother studied engineering because he was forced by our family to study engineering because he was a brilliant student growing up, and that's what my dada thought and my brother thought. He's never done engineering a day in his life. He went ahead and was in finance and doing really well in finance for the past 10 years. I have a cousin who studied law because her father was a lawyer. She studied law and then decided law wasn't for her, and so decided to go to business school and then join a tech company and be a tech entrepreneur. So I think high school is when you need to start having these conversations, but nothing is set in stone. And I think while Shaban Saab said that his father was not involved, I think his father was way ahead of his time. What a great man. I wish everyone could have parents like that, because I've talked to so many people that I've interviewed thousands of people in Pakistan, and you see an engineering degree or you see a medical degree and they're not doing that. And they come back and say, this is what our parents said. So I wish a lot of parents were tuning into this conversation as well. Maybe we can have a session with the parents. I come from a family where my dad pretty much let me do whatever I want. Like, I had to struggle really hard in life to get where I am, but I wouldn't have it any other way because he told me to do what you want. So high school is when you start deciding what exactly the kind of college that you want to go into, whether you want to be in a specialized college. I'd say a business degree is good. It lets you pivot into any career. But I think talk to your parents and tell them what you really want. And if you don't know what you want, go into a university and you can always choose later to do something else with your degree. But yes, as early as high school and before high school, let kids be and let them do whatever they want to do. And high school is when you're about to do your O levels or your metric. Because like in A levels or FSC, you have to start choosing the subjects that you're going to be at. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, Fatma, so what have actually helped you as a professional? So yes, we've talked about degrees, we've talked about choosing your own path. Now we have people who have already done that, graduated with whatever choices they were given or they took up on themselves. What's the next step? And what are some of the things that helped you climb that career ladder? So now getting to the next stage of what will help you, whether it's the soft skills, whether it's of course we already talked about passion, we talked about adaptability as Walid mentioned, but how can they work on their CVs, how can they work on getting the experience, soft skills? What are some of the things that really helped you take your journey forward?
So I think it's one word. It's called grit. I love that word. It means that you never give up. So here's the thing. I started off, I had a master's degree and I took an internship position and I was an intern for 9 months. I never thought that was a bad thing. I just worked hard day in, day out. When after 6 months they said, we still want you to be intern longer, I said, fine, I'll do it. After I lost that job, I took up a couple of other internships. I've had this, like a career like this. I went up to a certain level and then I dipped. But I never gave up or never decided I never thought no job was beneath me. So when you're struggling, take up anything that you get. Don't care about the money, don't care about anything. If a job is what you want, take it and make the most out of it. For all of you that are listening right now, I was at a high at my career. I was doing really well at this company. And I didn't like working there. So I went and joined Kareem. I joined Kareem as a call center agent. I was earning less than I'd ever earned, even as an intern, because I really wanted to be part of Kareem. And one of the other things I want to say is when you start interviewing people, don't look at the money and don't look at anything else. Look at what people you're working with. Trust me, at the end of the day, it is not the company that makes you stay. The perks will make you happy, but the people, and if you want to learn from them, that will help. So my advice is, if you're stuck, if you're doing anything, one, hard work always pays off. And be honest to the job. And not really the job, be honest to yourself. If you're giving 100%, no matter where you are, your hard work is going to pay off. I've been at 7 different companies before I got to Kareem, and that's where my career took off. But I failed many times. I joined a company, it didn't work out. The company failed or I failed at the company. And I kept trying and I never gave up. And I didn't earn much for a long time. Then I did earn. And at Kareem, I started off as a call center agent. And I was, giving away my age, I was 28. And I was working as a call center agent. And then I made my way up. And if you want to know how I made my way up, I never said no to anything that they said. It was a startup and they had other work for me to do. So I kept saying yes to everything. And I learned, I stayed back and I learned what other people were doing. And I just never gave up because I was passionate and I actually wanted to do well in life. I don't know if that helps, but please believe me, it works.
Well, this is a wonderful, wonderful story, and I think yes. This is exactly what we and Fasi, I know you will agree with it. Your starting job doesn't need to be fancy MNC job. It can be where you can learn. My 10 years of work experience, my first job was commenting after doing MBA from the NBS. My first job was commenting on a website and on an international website. which led me to working for products in Silicon Valley. And, that was the kickoff and start of my digital marketing career. So yes, firstly, I'm sure you have similar experiences as well. And
yeah, lots of internships. I can't even remember the count now. And even waited tables and then moved way up. And got, by the way, most of the offers were from those internships. We have a poll now. I believe it's also appearing on everyone's screen. So all the attendees can, okay, you're answering very fast. All right, so we have a lot of attendees, mashallah. We had over 104. So yeah, out of which 91, okay, good. So the question is, what would describe your current career state? So this would give a good perspective to all the panelists here as well. And you'll see that abhi jawab aa raha hai, almost 60% have voted so far. And out of this, 65% are at the early stages of their career, which is good. We're talking to the right audience, but also 30% are at the mid-stage careers, which also takes us to the second part, which I believe, Vidya, we can now also talk about a little bit, the relaunch part as well, right? Launch and relaunch. Relaunch ke bahut sare maini hai. One would talk about relaunch during COVID. It's a very tough time. People have pivoted, people have lost jobs, businesses have shrunk because of what's going around. So yeah, I guess we would also love to have some tips from these experienced professionals on the relaunch part as well. Okay, the poll is ended. So the result, as you could see on the screen, what would describe your current career state? 65% people are at the early stages, and almost 30% are at the mid, while 6% are at the core of them are at executive stages. G, Vidya.
So in terms of relaunch, and I'll start off with Walid and then Shaban, would love to hear from you. Any story of if you were in a situation where you have to look your skill set differently, of course, at a certain point in your career, and any example that would be really beneficial for the audience. But otherwise, is it a good idea to go for it? What are some of the initial challenges that somebody can face? So, for example, moving from finance to marketing, or just from one industry to another industry. So, if you have any thoughts on that, Walid, we can start off with you, and then Shaban, you can pitch in.
Sure. I mean, I think the very valid and pertinent aspect. Relaunching and introspection is very important, I think, throughout your life, and the urge and the desire to grow, you should always be open. So, I mean, by virtue of what I do in the field of education, I also do a lot of, as I think Fatma mentioned, a very pertinent and a powerful story of hers, working and taking up and never saying no in life, and, continuing the momentum. I mean, yes, skill set, this is a very critical element. I mean, in a youthful population in Pakistan, over 65% of our population is youth. You know that, I mean, we have aspiring young graduates. And of course, when I look into myself, apart from education, I also created and founded, and it's a global US entrepreneurs organization, created a chapter in Islamabad, and then took a delegation of about 7 members back to school. So I took them all to London Business School for an executive education program. This was March 2019. So when I went back, I mean, it was, back in the memory lane. And this was an executive education program with 90 of entrepreneurs and from about 30 countries. And we were a like-minded group coming in from similar backgrounds. And of course, who all had to. So part of our 10 days, the mainstream focus was we had to engage in discussions and deliberations, and to share your life's attainment challenges. One of the greatest challenges which I have faced is, of course, time management is, because education is totally being disrupted. I mean, pandemic or no pandemic, but if you look at it, I mean, if I look at my sector, I mean, to work on education delivery, to work on academic frameworks, to work on differentiated syllabuses, on qualifications, on attainment, to work on regulations, to work on the legal aspects of it. So, to put it all into context, all to match out of the strong 4,000 people who work, I mean, 90% of them is a women workforce. So in fact, but part of our narrative is equitable, opportunity for everybody. So, I mean, that struggle and continuous struggle for decision making, and of course, to separate the financial matters as a CEO. If you happen to be the CEO, then of course the delegation of authority. If you keep everything close to your heart, then of course there's an opportunity cost which one can make. So so of course when the organization is growing, and to pass on to higher recruitment, headhunting, so to have systems in place, training and support. So I mean, so that particular course was an introspection. It was an eye opener for me. I went back to school for myself. I mean, we run schools and universities in Pakistan, but I went to school back myself, and with like-minded over 90 entrepreneurs from different fields, from engineering, automotive, petroleum. And one of the key factors, a common factor was, I mean, the work-life balance was, overburdened with responsibility. So it's a global saying, when you're on top or your progression. So of course, you tend to feel isolated also. So you can be isolated when you're rising or striving. If you have to work hard, the way Fatma earlier mentioned, you have to switch jobs, you have to switch internships, and everybody has narrated here, attaining and working internships to jobs. But let me tell you here that in my institution, we honestly, I mean, if I put it into context, we do not urge students to go and take up jobs. We urge them to create jobs. We urge them to launch your startups, their mentorship programs, their engagements. In fact, we've also partnered with National Incubation Center and the Team Ups team to an extent to run, in fact, one of our, so a lot of that focus is being embroiled and imbued in students' mindsets that, I mean, you also have to take the plunge in life. एक वो conventional narrative है ना कि वो comfort zone में ना रहें. I mean, yes, even in terms of your startup and if you switch 9 jobs, your 5 startups ventures can also fail. So your 6 startup venture along with your job might work. But that sort of attitude for adaptability, that sort of capacity to accept failure for the student, for an individual. I mean, I've had failures in my life. I continue to have failure. I mean, this teaching over 20,000 students in Pakistan, non-stop, with over 4,000 teaching faculty. I mean, we were the first ones, pioneers in technological delivery, but it was a huge challenge. It was a huge challenge. I mean, it was a black swan moment for me, for my organization. And I think it would be for many other people in many other sectors. But I mean, apart from the ones the major challenge is to adapt change for our people, for our manpower. तो आपको पता है कि mindset change को करना पूरा, to document and to map the whole system. So of course, it's working from home, a new virtual concept. Normally, तो आप देखें in Pakistan, all our time as Shaban Saab, who's the HR head with us, can bail me out over here. Most of the part, the HR department, they're making sure that people are, getting their work sorted out. So when the businesses are running and open, so in where the human engagement and delivery, of course, there's more of a disruptive mentality. तो आपको पता है check and balance भी बहुत जरूरी होता है पाकिस्तान में ना हो यहाँ पे तो I mean बाहर तो multi-billion-dollar companies होती हैं उनके पास 5 regional directors होते हैं business managers होते हैं वो ऑरलैंडो बैठ के पूरे साउथ एशिया रीजन के 12 मुल्कों को ओवरसी कर रहा होता है right and with us we will have like 20 people overseeing that sort of structure. So I mean because ours is a human intensive organization, I'm talking from my own capacity. So of course there have been challenges and clearly as Madhya you mentioned that I'm always open to, so I also have certain business gurus, कुछ हमारे भी industry leaders हैं उनसे मशवरा लेते हैं, attend leadership conferences, forums, part of this entrepreneurs organization. We have a lot of professional grooming for mid management, for senior management, for CEOs, executives, and we trained we keep on taking our CFOs, our HR heads, our team and people, and then of course to apply and to attain that whatever through experiential learning and sharing. And most part of
sorry. So if I can summarize it, the learning journey through your career has been, going on, whether it's, being part of a bigger network, whether it's, taking help from mentors. This has been a part of it. And for those who are relaunching their career or at a middle stage and looking for better opportunities, I think these are some of the points to take home today of how it's very important. Moving to Shaban, if you can share your experience on how mid-career people who are in this situation right now can make the most out of this scenario here and really relaunch themselves in their careers.
Thank you, Madhya. I think this current pandemic has disrupted everything along with careers. Now, yes, we are also facing these kind of situations whereby people are going out of job, and I think approximately 75,000 people from Pakistan have lost jobs in UAE, and approximately the total number is somewhere around 1 million people who have lost jobs in UAE overall, every industry. At this point in time, there are people who had just started their careers 4 months in UAE and they had to leave the job. There are people who've been there for 10 years. Mixed stages of careers from early startups right to the senior people. They have lost jobs in this disruption. Now, coming to how do you relaunch? How do you find an alternative when the whole market is going down and there are the abundance or the availability of job is scarce at this moment in time. Relaunching your own career, first of all, you need to understand that, okay, where do you stand today in terms of your skills, qualifications, and relevance to the job market? Second, what is the closest thing that you can do alternatively for what you have been doing for the last 20, 10, 5, 7, 25 years? And having said that, you must try to concentrate on the skills and the skill set which you have already and which you are good at, so that you don't need to make a major change in what your skill set is today. Because if you go back to the drawing board and you start learning the skills which you are not aware of, that would take a far more longer time. And during these conditions, the faster you rebound and get back on track, the better it is. So if you go to an area which you are not aware of and you start acquiring the skill, that would not be very favorable for you in the circumstances. So it's most advisable that you go to an area. From finance, you can go to finance related activity. From HR, you can go into training. Giving you my own example, having seen what we are going through, I have started learning my certifications. My certifications which were pending, I always wanted to do, but I didn't have time. So now if I'm operating from home, I am able to spare 2-3 hours a day, whereby I spend time on getting my certifications. I'm about to complete my DIS certification, then I'm going for Myers-Briggs. If you go, you see, you will understand what it is. So I'm going for that. I'm completing my certifications just to make sure that my skill set is improving day by day. So this is my suggestion to all of the people who are already affected or will be affected or who wish to make a change in their career and they are not affected, to see what your strength is and build upon that.
Okay. Thank you, Shaban. I would also like to talk a little bit about Team Up's program, which is called Career Launchpad, and the whole purpose, and going through all these questions that have been pouring in from all the participants, as well as the discussion that we've had. I think it's a very relevant program for these times as well. What Career Launchpad by Team Up aspires to do is it's offering a professional fellowship program, and it provides an opportunity for professional development at different career stages. So whether you are just starting off early, you're in the mid career and looking for a relaunch, this fellowship program will help you accelerate in your career. And basically there'll be different phases of this, which will include mentorship, endorsement, and exposure to different to our team ups wide network of professionals. And it will help fast track your professional development. And the applications are open for this program. And quickly, just a rapid fire thing for all of you here, as to what do you think a program like that can help somebody who is just starting off their career, and or what is one thing that helped you when you were starting off your career? Was it the network, the mentors? So just a rapid fire thing. I'll start with Fatima uh, to just answer this as to what's one thing that you think really helped you in your and you already spoken about grit, but other than that, what are the external things that really helped you in going forward and getting where you are right now?
So one of the things that I did while I was in school, starting from my actually O levels, is every time I had a summer break, I did an internship. And every time I did an internship, I worked really hard, and I kept in touch with everyone I did an internship with. My first job I got because of an internship I'd done 5 years prior, when I reached out to that person and said, hey, I'm looking for jobs. I'm in Dubai. I see you're in Dubai. Do you remember me? Could you just set me up with some interviews? And he did. My second job was gotten because I'd kept up with the people that I'd worked with. Networking is really important, and it starts as early as your A levels. One of the things that I want to throw out here is, if you've had an exit from a company, whether it's good, bad, whatever, don't ever burn any bridge. You don't know at what point in time what bridge will come in handy. My biggest source of help for my whole career was first starting to do internships when I was in O levels, because I was bored and I didn't know what to do during summer. And second, leaving a very good impression, working hard. And third, keeping in touch with those people and then using them later to at least get me an introduction into a company. I hope
Thank
that
you,
helps.
Shaban.
Thank you, Madhya. I think what I would build upon what Fatma said, and she mentioned this earlier also, that the attitude, the can-do attitude, is something which is very important. One must not be choosy or very picky in the sense that, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do that. One must have the passion to do it, get into whatever is coming, and make sure that you do it best, you do it right, so that other people understand what your capacity and capability is, and you are adaptable to changing scenarios and different options which will come across your way. You're not very stern, or you're not stiff enough just to go only on one path, because there was a time which was meant for specialists. Today is the time, and coming forward, the future which holds for these young grads and professionals, multi-skilling. Multi-skilling is the answer. We must need to learn more and more skills, and we need to be adaptable. We need to keep a positive attitude. Our aptitude should be that, yes, I can do it. Give your best, and then leave the rest to the God.
Thank you, Shaban. Walid, what would you like to say?
Well, I think the concluding remarks would be there's no shortcut to life. The perseverance, adaptability, honesty, integrity, these are also important. Consistency, these are also important values. I mean, just by virtue of disruption, if one tends to hop on and off a career pathway, that can also make you go astray. So the disruption needs to be leveraged in your favor, not against yourself. So I'm talking about the disruption. Take pandemic as a disruption. Take, of course, adversity will bring an opportunity. I think for tech enthusiasts globally, this particular adversity brings an opportunity also. I'm talking about from an education standpoint. I mean, reliance, 100% reliance of our organization is on where tens of thousands of students are learning, absolutely reliant on technological platforms. beyond the scope of my imagination. Honestly, the learning management system, which I'll just give you a small example. There was a learning management system which I was working with my team, my academics head, my general manager, our IT head, and then of course we had a software company involved. I mean, it's been over 36 months, spent relentless amount of hours, and deployed. I mean, last year we did a test run, last year, January. Then in fall session, we did another test run. Before that, in 2018, we did a partial run, but I did not used to get the results. We got 80% results of that because और कोई choice ही नहीं थी उनके पास, teachers के पास, academic heads के पास, students के पास. तो जो काम 2 साल में नहीं हो सका, उस learning management system के अंदर content posting, उसकी adaptability, because उसको लोग seriously नहीं ले रहे थे कि जी अभी तो जब face to face teaching चल रही है तो उसको कौन ले. तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि so you know disruption and adaptability needs to be leveraged in your favor, and please do not look at shortcuts in life. The commitment to the cause, commitment to being passionate about whatever you do. You want to drive an Uber, set up your own, Bikia style company or an Uber style company, call it whatever. I mean, we tell our students, graduates, you want to open a dry cleaning business, you want to open a pizza when they graduate out of universities. The way we are discussing jobs here, we give them ideas to, to incubate those ideas from the business plans into the classrooms, and those they've gone. Maybe 40 or 60% of those ideas may fail, but then even if 2 or 3% of those ideas may transmit towards attainment, towards an operability. I mean, it can yield, dividends in the form of self-actualization. Yeah. Bring dividends in the form of self-reflection, attainment, success. उसकी बहुत ज़बरदस्त और खूबसूरत फीलिंग अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जबकि आप अटेन करते हो जो भी चीज़ हो, जिस तरह आपको अपनी लाइफ के अंदर वो फीलिंग आती है. So I mean, my remarks would be that please continue the cause of progression. We adapt and leverage your skill set driven अपनी अपनायत रखें, और डिग्रीज और जो है ना हमारा कन्वेंशनल नैरेटिव के साथ मैं बैचलर्स है, अब मैं मास्टर्स भी कर लूं, मैं एमफिल कर लूं, मैं पीएचडी भी हासिल कर लूं. अच्छा, जब पीएचडी ग्रेजुएट आते हैं एमफिल्स करके, जब वो आते हैं उन्हें कहते हैं जी अच्छा आप काइंडली व्हाइट पेपर लिख दें, एक बिजनेस प्लान डेवलप करके दे दें. यकीन करें, मैं आई एम नॉट बीइंग जजमेंटल हियर, आई डोंट वांट टू बी रूड, बट बहुत बड़ा अलमिया है कि आपके पास 4 डिग्रियां हों और आप एक व्हाइट पेपर नहीं लिख सकते, आप पावर पॉइंट पे प्रेजेंटेशन नहीं दे सकते, जो शायद एक ए लेवल का बिजनेस ग्रेजुएट बेहतर प्रेजेंटेशन दे सकता है. तो हमने इसको विज़ प्रोग्रेशन इन आवर करियर्स को भी मैप करना है. एंड इंशाल्लाह ताला बाकी अल्लाह ताला रिस्को पाक हिदायत करने वाला है. इंसान की जो बस में चीजें होती हैं बंदा वही करता है, और बाकी तो आई थिंक मेहनत और लगन भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और यूथ के लिए बड़ा पैगाम है जी, हमारे पास स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, मेरे पास आते हैं, सर हमें ये बता दें, ये अलमिया बता दें. तो हमारी, क्योंकि आपको पता है आपकी मेजर पॉपुलेशन हमारी यूथ है, और शायद तभी अब पिछले 1 हफ्ते से अच्छी खबर मैं ये देख रहा हूँ कि हमारा जो कोविड-19 का जो रेट है वो डिक्लाइनिंग ट्रेंड के ऊपर है ओवरऑल कंट्री वाइड पिछले 5 दिन का. तो शायद आई थिंक परहैप्स जो कम्युनिटी है हमारे लोगों के अंदर, हमारे कहते हैं ना पाकिस्तान इज नोन फॉर रेजिलियंस, हर चीज से हम उठ बैठे हैं. तो रेजिलियंस, हमारी इम्यूनिटी, हर चीज को हम कोरोना का भी मार भगाएंगे इंशाल्लाह, कोरोना का भी भगाएंगे. एंड इफ वी कंटिन्यू द कॉज, देन लाइक success stories like my good friend here Fatma Mazhar, I mean, who never say no, and she never said no, and there you are, and many other success stories.
Thank you, Walid.
Sorry, Madhya, can I just say one last thing? Sorry.
Please, sure.
I just wanted to give a piece of advice. One, I wish there was a team up career launch pad when I was starting out. I would have definitely signed up.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you.
I really, anything I can do to help over there, please let me know. The one thing I see a lot is, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I get thousands of messages a day. And the messages from people that are graduating, and this is advice for everyone who's listening. It's usually, here's my resume, please, if there's a job that you find right for me. Please don't do that. Please. I want to use LinkedIn as a place to find people. That would be my favorite thing. Yeah. Also, find a job that you like. Define how you're, I'm not going to go through your CV. I really won't have time. But if you write a message on, hey, this is my skill set, here's how it applies to the job that you're asking for, I would do it. The second, please understand that HR is very different from recruitment. In certain companies at different functions, but writing to an HR professional and saying, hey, hire me is not the right thing to do. Go to the recruiters. The recruiters will look at you. It's their job to look at you. So understand the difference between recruitment and HR. Recruitment might report up to HR. And I've learned all of this because I work very closely with my HR team now, and they've taught me a lot of things. And I have all the more respect for HR. The other thing that you need to understand is IT, workplace, finance, support, and HR in a company. Without them, the company doesn't run. All of you are all about like engineer banna hai, ye banna hai. And the last thing, please don't jump to want to be a manager. If there's one advice I can give, being a manager is much like being a parent. 90% of the time, you're solving issues between people and you don't get to do anything. Just remember, being an individual contributor, which is when you not have somebody reporting to you, is the best time of your life. It's like how they say school was the best time of your life. Being not a manager is going to be the best time of your life. Learn as much as you can over there. Enjoy as much as you can over there. Once you become a manager, oh my God, your responsibilities double and you have to take care of 20,000 people. So I hope that's helpful. And LinkedIn is your friend as long as you use it wisely. Thank you.
Can I mention here one point?
Sure, Walid. We just want to get to some of the questions and maybe your.
Since Fatma, quickly, I'll just say quickly, since Fatma mentioned LinkedIn, I just have an quick example of my student. She was a student who graduated out of, did a university, they did a high school from my school, went to US, graduated in California, graduated from there. But here she did 3-4 internships in Pakistan, created an account on LinkedIn. She was very active. While, about 3-4 years ago, when Trump came into power, they did a crackdown on visas, right? The immigrant program and all, and she became a victim. So apparently she became a subject of, she was let go of the company. One thing that helped her was LinkedIn. She connected with her in California. She did internships. She did internship without being paid a single dollar. And eventually, when she from migration from US landed her up, her parents were in some deputation posting in England, and she came to London. And another 6 months of struggle through her profile building, her network, which she created with HR, as Fatma, with headhunters, recruiters in California, right? Doing her internships, post her degree, she landed up a £80,000 job in London with a US company. And that was in London. So the importance of LinkedIn really helps in life, provided that you leverage the platform with the right people. Not, this is Fatma ne mentioned here, she gets a lot of, so many people would say, oh yes, hello, how are you? Tick, inbox, resume, get me a job, please look at my job. I mean, if you get to know the right ecosystem on LinkedIn, it's a great tool available. I think somebody was telling me, what about, they're about, aap logon ko zyada behtar pata hoga, they're about, I think about 10 million people, 10 to 15 million account holders on LinkedIn in Pakistan. And I think all major headhunters and recruiters are on LinkedIn in Pakistan and in the region.
Okay, thank you, Walid. Firstly, do you want to share some of the questions that we have a lot of questions coming in our Q&A, and to the panelists, if you meanwhile you can just answer a few of them privately yourself. Otherwise, we'll be taking some live. Firstly,
I would really request if the panelists can please answer the questions in the Q&A section. You can go and type in the answer. Because there's so many of them, we cannot, of course, do justice in asking all of them, but we'll try as much as we can. If you can answer in the meanwhile, that's really appreciated. I have had a lot of questions, but now since we are running way short of time, rather we are ahead of what we had for the time frame for this. So I would request that if you give me only a short answer, ideally one word, to these questions that I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to ask each panelist the set of 5 questions, or I guess 6 or something, right? And then just one word answer and then move on, so that people get different perspectives of how different professionals in their different career stages think about these things. And I just framed them because of the nature of the questions that are coming in. So I hope that through these questions, some of the answers are given there. All right, so I'll start with you, Shaban. First thing that you look in a CV.
Qualification.
Good. Do you see the LinkedIn profile of the candidate?
Yes.
What do you look at? Degree, skills, endorsement?
the overall experience, the skill set which comes across.
Okay. Does more internships count for fresh graduates or a degree from a higher institution?
None of the above.
What is better as a career choice? A big shot in a small organization or a small cog in a big organization?
Honestly, it will take more than one word. It's a personal choice, what you want to do, what you prefer. I have been a big fish in small pond and a small fish in a big pond as well. So it's a personal choice.
Great. And the last is paid gigs, paid temporary gigs, or free rides. And then asking this from the point of view for relaunch and also for very early starters. So what do you think is better or a preference? And this is your own personal choice, right? The free experience road, which means bas kaam kara lo, mujhe mauka de do, I don't need money. I just need to make contacts. I just need to know and the trick of the trade, and I just need to be busy. Or I'll only pay as long as I'll only work as long as I'm being paid, even if it's a temporary work.
See, again, it's a personal choice. You need to see what your personal situation is, and only then you can act in accordance. If money is not the problem, then yes, I mean, you must go for experience and try to learn as much as you can. That will help in the long run. And if money is the problem, then yes. And if money is the problem and you have the skill set as well, then why undersell?
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Shaban. Moving on, Fatma. First thing you look in a CV.
How it's presented.
The formatting, the aesthetics of it.
The aesthetics are very important for me because if it's too busy, it's hard for me to read it. So learn how to, and that should be in the launch pad, please.
Awesome. It is. So as part of the Team Up Career Launchpad, we will be not only doing mentoring sessions. One of those mentoring sessions are not just to do the career planning and lay down the path for those helping the candidates, but also working on CV writing, on LinkedIn, on how to approach, on cover letters, and on interviews, tips, and tricks. So that is the reason this whole program has been designed to fill the gap. I've shared the link of the website in the chat box where I believe the panelists and the attendees can access. It's teamup.pk/launchpad, where you can go and fill the form as well. My next question, do you see the LinkedIn of the candidate?
I first look at the LinkedIn, I then look at their cover letter, and then I look at their CV. LinkedIn is very important for me.
What is it that you look at LinkedIn? The degree? I mean, what matters the first? What do you look at the first? The endorsements, the degree, or the skills?
Early stage, unfortunately, I look at the degree.
Okay.
Mid stage, I don't even look at the degree. I look at the experience, but also how you've presented yourself. If you're not able to sell yourself to me in a LinkedIn profile, then how are you going to sell yourself to me in a interview? So again, very important how you sell yourself. There's thousands of LinkedIn profiles you're going to look at. The one where you're selling yourself really well, which means using those descriptions. So again, Launchpad should definitely have that as well.
Excellent. And then a person who's done lots of internships, or a person who has a fancy degree from a big institution, big university?
Look, fancy degree from a big institution is not readily available to everyone. Unfortunately, there's circumstances that do not allow some people to be able to access this education because of how expensive it is. So if you put in a lot of internships, that will go a long way.
All right. A big shot in a small organization or small cog in a big organization?
I've always been a big shot in a small organization. And I think, with due respect to everyone else, I think the learning there in a small org is a lot more than a big org. You're a small fish and you're restricted in what you are able to do. So go for a small org. You'll have a lot more responsibility and your trajectory would be much faster.
My last one for you is, this is all your personal experiences, personal opinions, and that's why everyone is there listening to that. They can relate to different people with different backgrounds. So last one for you is, Fatma, paid gigs or the free experience road. What should one at the early stage prefer?
Look, if a company is willing to make somebody work for free, it's not a company that I would unfortunately respect. So I would encourage people to, if you don't value yourself enough to say, hey, I am worth something to you, and it's a responsibility of the company to pay you as well. So choose a company or choose a person that says, I want to be paid, even if it's a little amount.
Excellent. Thank you, Fatma. Walid. Thank you. Walid, first thing you look in a CV?
Experience.
Okay. Do you see the LinkedIn profile?
Personally not, but my HR, it's so, I mean, if you're asking a personal preference, so of course the HR, reviews the resumes and shortlists, and of course that should matter.
So what would you look at when you look at the CV in your case? You said experience, so that question is answered, skills and endorsements, etc.
So yeah, I would add here, I mean,
internship, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've told my HR department that they have a term which is called as a quick review of assignment, in which when they shortlist and they engage with candidates in terms of shortlisting. Because I mean, being an educational organization, we see a great amount of challenges. I mean, some of the people who come on board, even in terms of experiences, some fantastic experiences of working abroad, of being graduating from leading universities. But when you put it into context, in written, in expression, in making plans, proposals, feasibilities, आपको पता है कि as an educational organization, तो वो चीजें जो है. So I think important is, so they do a quick assignment review of shortlisted candidates also.
Okay. A person who has done more internships, or a person who has a fancy degree from a bigger university? In your case, I believe it might be the first one, because you are at the end of the recruiting academics mostly.
What is the first one?
The higher education, the people from institutions.
Yeah, I think you should add, in your question, you add a third strand also, because in most of the cases, these two strands also do not fulfill the specific requirement. So a lot of internships, a fancy degree from a top university with the skill set applied to that relevant job. I mean, so if you amalgamate the three, that thrashes out an ideal potential individual rightly suited for the job.
Based on your experience, what would you advise to those who are starting at the very early stages in their career? A big shot in a small organization or a small cog in a larger organization?
What is the first option? A big
shot in a smaller organization, like a multinational, for instance.
I understand you.
Yeah, or small. Yeah, in a smaller organization, or a small cog in a bigger organization, like a multinational.
So you want me to select with one of these two?
Yeah. What would you advise for those early starters?
I think small cog in a big organization. Yeah, okay. Even you start small in a big organization, take the plunge. Take the plunge. Do not go to become a big shot from day one.
Okay. Paid gigs or the free experience road?
Well, it works both ways. I mean, I've seen students who've had internships who've not been paid a dime, and those experiential learning has provisioned for their connections and landed them. So, I mean,
okay.
Either way, yeah, it strike the opportunity, whatever you feel, but do not go on the dividends when you at the start of your career. I mean, if you have to take internships, if you have to strike for it, those internships should be leveraged for networking. And I've seen my students doing networking in California, in London, in Lisbon, in New York, without being paid a dime, and eventually landing the floor of NASDAQ and FTSE and senior positions in those companies subsequently by virtue of their connectivity. These capitals of the world. I mean, the same way it works in Karachi. It works the same. It's pretty similar on a corporate level in Islamabad.
Thank you so much, Walid. I really appreciate the responses by all the panelists. So Madhya, as much as I wanted to ask lots of questions, but we are of course constrained by the time. And our audience is also very impatient. They have put up some questions which they'd like to ask as well. So yeah, if we can choose a few and then ask them, and I would really appreciate if the panelists gave us short, quick answers so that we can ask more perhaps. Medea, would you like to go first?
Yes, one of the questions that we have received, just one more question, one of you can answer, is about especially people who are doing some generic degrees like MBA graduate, BBA graduates. What should they be doing when they step out from their degrees? And should they go for explore any of the fields that are available there? And another question is that, during the interviews, a question is asked about how unique, what are your unique skill set, or how are you unique from the other graduates that have come in? So that's a tricky question for some of the graduates, and they've shared, okay, how can they answer this?
मेरा ख्याल में इंटरव्यू का बड़ा common question है, which is often asked in a very early stages of your career. What makes you unique or different from the rest?
Yes.
Yeah.
I ask this question a lot. I also ask this question a lot to potential graduates.
Okay. So, Shaban, if you can answer, what would be a good reply to that question for those who are listening in?
See, guys, this is, I know, and at times I also ask the same question, but normally I'll give you the science behind why this question is asked. Normally, this question is asked to a candidate to understand the capability of that individual, that how a person can manipulate, how a person can, don't get me wrong by the word manipulation, but how a person can tone up his mind in an order to sell himself. Just see the presence of mind, that how well the person is prepared, and how is his adaptability to the changing scenarios or abrupt questions or abrupt situations which may arise in the organization. So this is why this kind of a question is asked. There can never be a single liner, a correct answer to any of such questions. The only idea behind is to ask you a question and understand how your mindset is and how you behave or respond in an unprepared mindset.
All right. And Fatma, if you can answer, you talked about different functions that people can join in after doing their BBA and MBA, and there are a lot of unspecialized degrees. So what would you say? Jump in and explore. What would you suggest?
As far as I thought an MBA was a specialized degree, and I was very proud of my MBA because in the MBA as well, they tell you to kind of choose a function. I think I've seen in Pakistan this concept of a management trainee program. I think if you've done an MBA, so when we started it at Kareem, or Junaid Iqbal started it at Kareem, it was his idea. I'm not going to take that idea away from Junaid Iqbal. But when he started it, we were looking for maybe BBA or MBA students that would come in because they had the experience of going around. So I think look for companies that have a management trainee program. It's called different things at different places. And that lets you apply for this before you graduate, and then you get in and do that. Otherwise, look for positions that you like. HR is a great function. Finance itself is a great function. Or look at operations as general. Operations has a lot of different functions. So if it's an operation role, go for it. I have an operational experience, and I think that's where the company is controlled really well. I hope that's an okay enough answer, but if not, please do reach out to me and I can look at your CV and give you some guidance, or no, just go to Launchpad, they'll do that for you. Like my plug?
Thank you so much, Fatma. I think we'll just...
will be there, by the way, as one of the mentors in the Career Launchpad, as would be these other individuals.
Always.
So, yeah.
Always. I'm the biggest fan of you guys.
Thank you so much, Fatma. So we reciprocate that, if not any less. So, if not more than that. So, the point is that all of this is basically being done to let the audience know, especially those who are graduating, who are struggling in their career, even in the middle stages, that all this support from these experienced professionals would be available for you guys to make the most of. Sorry to interrupt, Medea ji.
No, I think we're good. Thank you, everyone, especially our panelists, Walid, Shaban, and Fatma, for joining in. Monis apologized. He had an unfortunate accident, so he couldn't join in. And Fasi, thank you for doing the tricky job with me. We thought we'll try and test teamwork on Zoom as well. So
as my boss always says, great things happen when you team up, huh?
Yes, definitely.
I believe, Shaban, you want to say something. I just got the message. Please.
I'd just like to leave our audience with a couple of thoughts behind, and would like them to ponder upon few points which are important in the governing situation. Guys, remote work is the new normal. So you prepare yourself to come into a marketplace whereby things will be going more on remote. Try to adapt those skills. Nurturing a culture in a state which is challenging and the workforce is dispersed is even more critical. So get into a shape whereby you come to the employers, you appear to the employers, a candidate who can be reached out and who is very proactive. Talent acquisition and retention is very, very critical and is going to be even more critical in the coming times. So make yourself a contributor to whom an employer can never say no. Engaging a remote workforce itself, having very well engaged employers, as the Maslow theory goes, that if you have an engaged workforce, they contribute, and if they are 25% of the workforce, they contribute to the 75% of the profitability. So try to become in those first 25% and be engaged workforce, whereby the employer is bent upon to make sure that you are the best asset. And last but not the least, the compliance and then the administrative part going forward is going to be even more difficult, getting into the attendance, the leaves and this and all the back end transactions. So this is something which is going to be more online. So if you have skills and you have capability to get yourself marketed for that, you might be like, you might want to prepare yourself for that. This is what I wanted to leave you with.
Thank you so much, Shaban. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Madiha, for all the hard work and for also coping with me. And we have a last poll for those who are still around. Please, if you could answer this: would you choose a paid job or working voluntarily with a great mentor at the beginning of your career? We discussed how the panelists think about it. We'd like to know how the audience thinks about it. So keep them coming, guys. 15% of you have already voted. अच्छा ये yes no आ गया. Ideally तो इसका आंसर होना चाहिए था कि a paid or a voluntary. So I believe the yes would be that you like to work voluntarily, and no would be that you like to. The yes would be that you like to have a paid one, and no is that you're okay with the voluntarily work. Okay. Of course, everyone wants a paid one. Okay, you want the. See, it's switching. The art of persuasion. Good. Okay, great. So, yeah, we just wait for 6 more seconds and we close the poll. Okay, brilliant. Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you so much, Fatma, Walid, Shaban, and everyone in the audience who joined us. Thank you so much for your patience. This whole session was recorded. We will be uploading it on our Facebook and also on our YouTube pages. We earlier encountered some problem while we were broadcasting on Facebook because of the APIs. Zoom and Facebook have something going on. But we will be sharing it, of course, on YouTube as well. And all of you who registered will get an email with the link and a feedback form. I would request all of you to please do fill the feedback form, because it's only because of your precious feedback that we will be able to improve whatever we can in terms of sharing the knowledge with you. So once again, thank you. Have a great day. And मैं अगर इसको quickly summarize करूँ तो बहुत सारे लोगों ने इस बात पे कहा कि काम जो है वो छोटा या बड़ा नहीं होना चाहिए और उसमें आपकी इज्जत आड़े नहीं आनी चाहिए. So you should not, as your first gig, be ashamed that I am a graduate from a big university and I know I can speak very well, good in a lot of different languages, but why would I go and work in an organization where the youngest employee is 20 years older than me? So that should not be a barrier, because this is really where the grit, as Fatma mentioned and Shaban and Walid talked about, is the test where it starts. And that is just one tiny little test in the whole big jigsaw puzzle that you will have in your career. Good luck to all of you. Thank you. Khudafis.
Thank you.
Office.